Last night, a bipartisan deal was struck among congressional leaders, according to Politico, that would increase defense spending and provide 1.5 billion in new border security spending amid repairing existing infrastructure and increasing technology, though it would not allocate any new funding for a southern border wall with Mexico despite the president's insistence. Under the plan, Congress will provide 15 billion in supplemental funding requested by President Trump to fight terrorism, though 2.5 billion of that is contingent on the White House presenting Congress with a plan to fight the Islamic State. Where to begin? This brings new meaning to the phrase "I hate Mondays" because I wake up. Well, it's early afternoon now. It's 1 o'clock, almost exactly. We're like 2 minutes past that. Where to begin? First of all, any increase in spending for border security at this point is kind of nonsensical. And the reason I say that is you had Attorney General Sessions walking around going, hey guys, did you know that we've seen a 70% decrease in the amount of people entering here illegally since Trump got in office, our border activity or whatever? If you can brag about that, then in the same breath, you can also suggest maybe our rhetoric was good enough. Maybe we have people convinced we will do something to you if you come over here illegally. But no, we're going to shell out money. What is that? That's 1.5 billion that we're going to waste on that 20% of illegal immigrants who are coming. And who's to say that doesn't decrease further? So what are you spending this cash on other than to just make your base think that you're actually stopping something? That's how this video is going to be. Who wants to waste 1.5 billion, or how to waste it? Now, I've always hated the idea that we're just going to be at war no matter who we put in the White House. And indeed, that was part of the reason why this past election I didn't vote for either of the major party candidates, because they were both warmongers in my opinion. One more outwardly so than the other, but you look at Hillary's record in the Senate and see that she voted for the war in Iraq. It's bothersome to me that in a country where hundreds of thousands of people cannot afford food, an even bigger percentage cannot afford housing, an even bigger percentage cannot afford their student loans, paying them off within a year or any reasonable amount of time, that we somehow feel obligated to go and tend to individuals overseas, probably killing them, but also someone being allowed to live as a result of not being there, and that person and other survivors remembering the atrocities of bodies piling up, and America still calling itself the land of freedom and peace and all the other rhetoric that we've used over the years, when we actually had that was a little bit more believable at sometimes other than now. I've made that argument before in other videos that we should instead allocate our money to schools and individuals who are not wealthy and actually need help. But at this point, I feel like a broken record because, I've been aware that no one from the Trump administration is watching what I'm saying or, actually taking it into account. I know that most people that are on YouTube aren't watching what I'm saying or taking it into account. But it doesn't change the fact that there is a large percentage of people in this country who could be benefited by that 1.5 billion. And instead it's being thrown in the trash to fight a bunch of terrorists that are being legitimized by the amount of funding that is being used to combat them. You know, the way to beat terrorism is to invest entirely in your own country at this point. Because remember, the goal is supposed to be, we don't want them to get over here. We don't want them to try and, you know, do another 9/11. But explain to me what scenario is going to exist where they say, oh, yeah, we got to leave the U.S. alone. They just bombed, this place that we're all in. I would think that would inspire more terrorism because now they want, in their view, justified revenge. Like, we have to remember that when a person feels wronged, they're not thinking rationally. They're not thinking of, maybe I could have did this better, that person could have done that better. No. You give further credence to the idea that we're a system which can be manipulated based upon central ideas of just being hawkish, and it's as if this is some attempt by the administration to prove that there's this contest going on of who's stronger and who's weaker, and we're coming out on top because we're America and we always win and we're the good guys no matter what we do. No matter if we bomb countries that we had no business in, no matter if we order airstrikes that, again, were unjustified in terms of what was actually being done to the U.S. to warrant them. No matter if we badmouth the leader of a certain country that starts with North Curry and then get surprised when he wants to target us. We talk him down and act so perplexed. Why would he want to do anything else? Why would he want to do anything? He's a madman. No, they're not just crazy. And they're not doing things like this. You know, I don't see any reason for us to go after North Korea or any of these terrorist groups when we have our own problems here at home. And then someone will say, oh, well, it's because, if they get over here and they kill somebody, it's not going to matter about the problems at home. Well, that person that they kill is going to be randomly targeted, and that person is likely to just be one person. And I'm sorry, but when it comes to would I rather take 1.5 billion and invest that into a community filled with hundreds of people, or not use that money and maybe slightly increase the chance of a person meeting their end by a terrorist, likely because they just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, which ironically happens with our domestic terrorists in Chicago and Baltimore? I would pick the former, or rather just my option, because I don't see what this does to benefit anyone but individuals who make money off of warfare.